This video is unlike any video we've ever done before, so if you got the time, you definitely want to check this one out. Recently, I got a rare invite from SATA to go to their world headquarters in Germany to get some training. And if you know me, you know that I'm a SATA guy. While I was there, I wanted to experience their automotive culture, so we rented a couple cars and we did 11 countries in 15 days, all by car. In this video, we're going to take you on that journey, and we refer to this as the ultimate road trip. Day 1. We jump on a direct flight from Detroit, Michigan, and we head straight to Munich, Germany. The flight takes around 8 hours, and we fly almost 4,400 miles by air. Germany is 6 hours ahead of Michigan, so when we land at 6:30 a.m., it's technically the next day for us. Day 2 starts at the Munich airport. Our plan was to rent a high-end German automobile for this leg of the trip. We wanted a Porsche or BMW or a Mercedes, but for reasons I'll explain later, we ended up with this sweet DS SUV rental. We drive it 200 miles straight to Prague, Czech Republic, which takes us around 3.5 hours. We spent most of the day just exploring the city and shopping. I've never been to Prague before, and it's a beautiful city, and the two things that stand out to me visiting this place is the Prague Castle and the Charles Bridge. We leave Prague in our trusty rental car and we head to Vienna, Austria. The drive takes us around 4 hours. We tour the city and we check out some museums, but my favorite thing we visited was the St. Stephen's Cathedral. We even climbed the 343 steps to reach the top of the famous South Tower. The climb leads to an outlook offering amazing panoramic views of the city. Next, we drive from Vienna to Bratislava, Slovakia. The drive is short and sweet, and it takes us about an hour. We only spent a few hours here. It was getting late, and I was ready to complete another 2+ hour drive to Budapest, Hungary. We wake up in Budapest and we set out on foot to explore the city. Budapest is the capital of Hungary, and it's a very unique and beautiful city. I love the way the Danube River splits the city in half, and just walking along the river and crossing some of their bridges, I could spend all day doing that. Unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of time in Budapest, and we hit all the famous tourist spots like the Parliament, the Fisherman's Wharf, and a couple of the famous churches. I'm in a hurry though because I have a 500-mile road trip in front of me, which takes me about 8 hours, and I'm headed to a small town called Medjugorje, which is in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Try to say that name 3 times. It takes me about 8 hours to cover the 500 miles, and the roads are not like they are here in America. So the drive was actually really beautiful, and this is a very popular spot for people on motorcycles to take trips, which I didn't know that before the trip. We wake up early in Medjugorje and we walk a few hundred yards to a beautiful restaurant and eat. The reason why we're here is my better half and my travel partner is Catholic, and this is a very famous spot if you have that faith. We explore this area for about 5 hours before we jump into our rental car and we start our journey to Croatia. We're going to southern Croatia, and we're right on the Adriatic Sea in a famous town called Dubrovnik. Now, if you've ever watched Game of Thrones and you know what King's Landing is, this is the city, the famous walled city that they used for the TV show. The drive is short and sweet. It's only about 80 miles, but it takes us over 2 hours to get there because the traffic was super heavy. We get some food, check into our hotel, and I take a cab to the ancient city. So we just walk the beach, we go swimming a little bit, and then we get a bite to eat before we hop in our rental car and we head north. I really need to be back in Germany today or tomorrow because I start my training with SATA soon. I make it 600 miles to Salzburg, Austria, so I never even made it to Germany. And this leg of the trip took me about 13 hours. There was a bunch of checkpoints I had to stop at, and traffic was super heavy. So I didn't quite make it to Germany, but I made it close. We wake up in Austria and we drive straight to the Mercedes Museum in Stuttgart, Germany. Now, Stuttgart is a very well-known automotive town. It's like the automotive capital of Europe. If you've ever looked at the Porsche emblem, it actually says Stuttgart right on it. This is kind of like what Detroit used to be for America. This is my first time meeting the SATA guys there. I get to meet some of the other guests who are on this training trip. So I get to go and tour the Mercedes Museum, which is crazy. I mean, not only are the cars wild there and some of the history they have there, the building and the elevators look like they're straight out of the Jetsons. So we hang out there for a few hours. We go have dinner with SATA and the crew, and we check into our hotel. We wake up at the hotel that SATA provided, and they pick us up in a van. They first take us to a museum. They had a bunch of airplanes and military stuff, which was really cool. They had a submarine that you could actually tour and walk and all the stuff. They had a lot of World War II military tanks. They even had some cars, and we ended up eating lunch there. So it was pretty cool to see that side of the automotive world. They even took us to the Ludwig Castle, which is not too far from Stuttgart. There's a lot of history here, and it's from the Napoleon era, and just the sheer size of this thing and how fancy it was kind of blew my mind. I mean, it was straight out of like a fairy tale book. We ended up eating with SATA and the crew that night, and it was a great day. We wake up at the SATA hotel, and they pick up all the wives and girlfriends and all the guys that were invited on the trip. We get to go to the SATA World headquarters for the very first time. We get to tour the factory. Sorry, there's no videos. They don't allow it inside the factory. And we get to see how that they make and test all of their guns. The place is crazy. Their attention to detail, the quality, the tools and equipment they have in there just blows my mind. They even have a lunchroom that we eat right there next to the classroom. They send all the girls home, and all the guys get to hit the classroom, and we learn about SATA and all the innovations they made and why their guns are the best in the world. We end up having dinner with SATA, and they even gave us a couple gifts. Today I spent all day with SATA. We end up doing more training. We do half of a day in the classroom and half of the day actually spraying their guns, adjusting their guns, learning stuff that I never even thought of when I was back in America. Of course, we tried the new Jet X and some other stuff that they're working on. It was a pretty cool day. We meet back up with the girls, and they take us to the Porsche Museum. What I like about this is they had the very first Porsche ever there and a bunch of early examples of Porsche. They had a bunch of race cars there. We even went to a Harley Davidson dealership, and then they took us to the mall before we had dinner. Well, my time with SATA is over, so I check out of the SATA hotel. I have to get a new rental car. I don't know what this thing is, man. It looks like a Suzuki Sidekick. And I head to France, Strasbourg, France to be exact. Of course, we have to see another church. I get to go to one of the world's oldest antique dealerships. And then I take the long drive to Bern, Switzerland, which is gorgeous, and we stayed the night there. We wake up in Bern, Switzerland, and we explore the city. We mainly did it by foot, but they do have some awesome public transportation. The whole country is super clean, super safe, and it's very easy on the eyes. We spent about a half a day there just exploring before I jump back into my car and I drive to Luzern, Switzerland. This place is right out of a fairy tale book. I could not believe the mountains, the water, the lake. Our hotel sat right on Lake Luzern and even had one of those endless pools that it kind of looked like it disappeared into the lake. They had a Latin night there, so they had a bunch of music and food, and I don't really drink, but I drank and danced the night away, and I slept really, really hard that night in our hotel. We wake up in Luzern, Switzerland, not hungover, thank God, and we drive to the capital of Liechtenstein, which is pronounced Vaduz. It's a very, very small country, and I think it used to be like a kingdom because there's a castle there still. And believe it or not, they had a Pantera car show there. So I spent a couple hours looking at all these beautiful cars, and I didn't really want to leave, but I had to drive back to Germany, and I ended up near the Munich airport. Here's a couple weird things that I've learned about Europe. One, everyone's super nice. They have distilled water and sparkling water, which a lot of people call baby water. But the funny thing is that when you ask for ice, they almost act like they don't know what you mean because they always drink their drinks at room temperature. And the free water doesn't exist, so it's almost cheaper buying alcohol. Even though I didn't get my Porsche Turbo because I wanted to go 200 miles an hour on the Autobahn, that's always been on my bucket list, I did take this crappy rent-a-car and I managed to hit a whole 200 kilometers on the Autobahn, which is, I don't know, 125 miles an hour maybe, and it was all the car had. So that was my experience in Europe. That's the whole trip. Hey, I know this video is unlike anything that David and I has done in the past. Make sure you comment below. Did you like the video? Do you like the new style? Did you hate it? We'd really like to know because we want to continue to give you good automotive related information, and we want to help our channel grow, so make sure you like and subscribe. I want to thank Tony Larimer from SATA USA for the invite. Can't thank him enough. And from all of us at Refinish Media, until the next time.